Did you know that about 22% of the Swedish population is practically invincible to authorities and industry? In front of us, we have 280 billion Swedish krona of purchasing power waiting. We don't do anything about it. Well, actually, it's not quite so. At least not for those of us that gain an understanding of the particular characteristics of those 22%. And that is why cross-border communication is here with us today. Amjad Aloul founded cross-border communication already in 1997. In Filistin, with a background in music and drama, joined the company in 2014. We have a really challenging and also exciting hour ahead of us. So without further ado, let's give Amjad and Filistin a warm hand.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here today and talk about cross-border, what we are doing, what we stand for, and our ideas. Yes, I have been working here for 3 years. My name is Filistin Aloul, and my boss, and also my father, actually, yes, it's wonderful. He started the company 15 years ago. So, cross-border, we are an advertising and communication agency that focuses on helping other companies to see the strength of purchasing power among immigrant groups in Sweden. And to be honest, this is the 280 billions, like was just mentioned. That's the gathered consumption, the amount that immigrants spend over a year in Sweden. And to be honest, we don't see immigrants. We see different demands, habits, and needs in our society. And at the same time, that a certain need gets strong enough and that is shared by many other people, then it should be in our company's interest to do something about it, to recognize them and to utilize them. But unfortunately, we haven't seen that, not always. We have seen two types of companies. The first one that is seeing the potential here among immigrant groups and is doing something, and the other type of company that is seeing the problems, seeing stereotypes, national romanticism, and choose to do nothing because they don't know how to approach these groups. So cross-border is about reaching out to all of Sweden's population with all our different backgrounds, consumption patterns, and needs. And now I would like to introduce a true Arab for you. Amjad Aloul, he's 51 years old, he's an Arab, he's a Muslim, he's born in Palestine, he have 12 siblings spread all over the world, and that makes me a cousin to like 100 of people, which I haven't even met. So please welcome Amjad Aloul.
Thank you.
Yes. Good introduction.
Thank you. This is exactly how we behave when we get those facts, how we stereotype the foreigner groups in Sweden. When we hear about Arabs, we think about, camels and desert. When we hear about Turks, it's a carpet shop with a tea tray. When you hear about people from Latin America, it could be a gangster type or something, So leave those stereotypes, because what it's all about is actually the business opportunity. We see the business opportunity, and there's money in this. So our idea is to take you for a walk, let's say a kind of brand walk, I would say, to see things in a different perspective. And those are the agenda for today. We're going to talk about the immigrant groups. I mean, it's so easy for us to talk about them as if they were, the same kind of people. These are strictly heterogenic groups that have huge differences. We're going to go through them a little bit. We're going to have a look at the immigrant groups' relation to different brands, of lack of relation to different Swedish brands. And Filistin is going to walk us through a concrete case. What was the problem, what was done, and what was the result. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to do it.
Should we ask you? Should we ask them a question maybe?
Yeah, we
That
had a
you could have-
question. That's
yeah.
right.
Let's think about, and we can discuss this after our session, how we behave when we are in another country, when we are visitors. How do we socialize and interact? How do we manage? How do we get help? What is common for us? So think about that, and we can talk about it.
Discuss that after our session. When we started this business 17 years ago, we could see that the tools we took for granted within the communication industry, we couldn't use them because we couldn't go to our customers' media planners and ask them how to reach out to Turkish girls under 20. We couldn't go to a company that makes surveys among those groups because you can't do that in Sweden. So we had to develop our own tools. One of them is Ethnopol, which actually is a kind of web survey tool. It gives us, some answers in a very simplified and fast way. The other tool is EthnoReach, which actually is a tool where we have access to different communities' addresses. So it's a kind of DR tool. But let's talk about the immigrant groups in Sweden. How many of you are immigrants, born in another country? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, around 8, 9. Okay, welcome. As I told you, those are strictly heterogenic groups. There's huge differences. We have about 1.3 million who actually came to Sweden, and the rest of them, about 1 million, 1.1 million, they have at least one parent who belongs to the first generation. Something that is interesting is that they are percentily more than the average Swede within the youngest. And that's because of when they come to Sweden, they are younger than the average Swede. So they are actually increasing. We're talking about around 25% in 2019. And of course, within the city areas, as Stockholm, Göteborg, Malmö, we're more than over 30%. So this is a huge mixture of highly diverse groups. It's a mixture of new and more established people. Several areas with a concentration over 50%. And within our work, the first thing we do is, we seldom work with the foreigner groups. What we do is try to identify a target group within the immigrant groups. Who's the most important groups for this company? Are we talking about newcomers, or are we talking about more established people? Are we talking about people from the Middle East, from Latin America, from North Africa, whatever? So when we identify the right target groups for that customer, things get much more easier, of course. It's easier to communicate, it's easier to adapt the product or the service, and it's easier also to reach out to them. Wow. If we have a look on the immigrant groups' relation to different brand names, to different Swedish brand names. In Sweden, we have lots of brands that we take for granted, that we have a special relation to. But newcomers, a lady from a Kurdish lady who's been here 2 years, she don't know anything about Kalles caviar. She don't know if it's better than Blåvitts caviar or better than another kind of caviar. And she don't know if it's good or bad. She don't have a relation to any Swedish brand names. And that, of course, that opens opportunities for other brands. There's several brand names that we have so strong relation to that we can choose to leave the grocery store to get them somewhere else. A good example is the ketchup. If I don't find Heinz or Slots, I go to another shop. But this Kurdish lady, she can go to Lidl and buy a German ketchup because she don't have a relation to Slots or Heinz or whatever. So it's very important to, if you want to reach out to the foreigner groups, it's also important to do it early because they're more loyal to brands who talk to them in a way that they can identify themselves with. And the first one on target wins the group. Comviq was the first company to introduce the kontantkort, the prepaid telephone card in Sweden. Before they were introduced, you had to, pay around 2,000 kronor to Telia to get access to a telephone number. And all of a sudden, in one day, you could be accessed for 100 crowns. So Comviq is the huge actor within the subcultures in Sweden. Other companies have a hard time to reach out to the customer groups, such as Telia, Telenor, and so on. Swedbank was the first bank to communicate with the foreigner groups and is the stronger bank among the foreigners compared to other banks. Folksam was the first insurance company to communicate with them. And we wrote creating opinion, especially among the youngest. The younger foreigner group, the younger among the foreigner groups are an extremely important target group. Even though they are not the right target for that product, they are the people who introduces things to the parents. Because the parents always, if they don't know anything about something, they ask their children. They ask the children about the voting card, about the bostadsrättsförening, about Kalles Kaviar. They reach out to the children. So the children, the young among the foreign groups are extremely important to reach out to because they are the way out to the parents. And there's also a problem over here, I think. It's not a problem, but this is how we behave. Not all the foreigner groups, not all the foreigners who is in Sweden, especially among the parents, have bought the idea that I came to Sweden to stay. They still have a dream that when I become 65, I will build something in my homeland in Turkey or Greece or whatever, and I will go back. And I struggle to defend myself among everything that makes me get more rooted in Sweden. Lots of people, they are integrated in Sweden, but still there's some important things as food, as other things that they still want to keep. And actually I studied that a few months ago. I was in Gran Canaria. I was celebrating my mother-in-law's 70th birthday. And I came across the Swedish community in Gran Canaria. And I studied them, how they behave. They were of course, living with each other. None of them spoke Spanish. What they were talking about was how to get the lingonsylt or the Marabou choklad, or where is the candy store with Swedish candy opening. That was what they're talking about. And when I saw this homepage, I found the link, and I could see that you could marry in the Swedish church in Gran Canaria. It cost 200 euros and 3 kilos of Swedish bryggkaffe. So this is how we behave when we come to other countries. This is how it is. And this is how foreigners behave when they come to Sweden. Foreigner could be here 30, 40 years, but they still want their own hummus. Doesn't have to be Kalles Kaviar. They still want their own goods. And they're still integrated into society. Sous shop owners, they wonder what happens every year around Mars. Could any one of you, Darius, you're excluded. All the Google gang is excluded. And does anybody know the answer for that question? You're from Persia? Yeah, I can see that. Within the marketing business, we have information about what happens during the year. We know what happens for Christmas now. We know what happens for Easter or Midsommar or whatever. But when 600,000 people celebrate Ramadan. We're back to stereotypes. Oh, they are Muslims. Should we do something? Oh no, it feels bad. You know, I mean, it's lots of money. Come on. The 21st of March is the Nowruz, it's the Persian New Year, and there's lots of money in that too. I don't know what they do with the goldfish, but obviously they buy another one the year after. But Darius? That's good. That's good. It's good protein. No, but I mean, all those celebrations are connected to different kind of consumption habits, of course. It's money. And we're talking about Ramadan. Ramadan, okay, people, they fast, but I mean, they put much more money on food during that month compared to other months during the year. So it's always the business opportunity. This is business. This is money. And this is some examples of some of our customers. This is the Posten, and this wasn't in the paper the 31st of December. This was in March. And when you move the paper to the other one, it was Gott Nytt År, Önska Posten. And Posten, they did that because they knew that foreigner groups outside Europe, they make lots of postal services. They want to keep that relation. This is some other examples. And we often get the question, okay, let's do something. How do we do it? And of course, there's no simple, ready recipes for how to reach out to the foreigner groups. I mean, all the organizations, they're used to work with different kind of target groups. It could be men, women, people with driving license, people without driving license, whatever. Now we have hundreds of thousands of people who have a bad relation to your brand name, or they don't know anything about your brand name, or your goods, your services, your products. So do what you used to do. Get to know them and use that information in your communication and see how you can reach out to them. Today, there's several ways to find new channels to reach out to different kind of foreigner groups, and I will show you some of them soon. But please, there is a recipe. Avoid national romanticism and stereotypes. I mean, this is. I don't know if you know about Svenska Spels ande, who was actually stopped because of those kind of facts that people called them and felt. I mean, it was bad will more than goodwill. So put the romanticism aside. So what we do is actually first to identify the target group, the right target group for the right customer within the foreigner groups. And secondly, we have to look at the communication. Is this communication okay, or do we have to do any changes? This is some of the customers we work with. Do we have to draw something else, to put something else to draw their attention? Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we don't need that. It could be another copy or something just to draw their attention. Filistin,
Yes.
you want to show us a case?
Yes, the Coop case. Have you ever heard about a brand named Coop? Swedish, right? Our well-known grocery store. Because, let me ask you, it was not as definite when we were asking 100 of middle-aged ladies representing different language groups. They didn't have any relationship whatsoever with one of Sweden's most well-known brands. They have not been approached, they had not been listened to, or even looked at as customers. So we did a survey. This was a couple of years ago. We didn't see any foreign groceries in the stores. We didn't see any marketing towards immigrant groups at all. So we did a survey to have something to present for Coop and tell them how wrong they were, how wrong they did. So we did a survey where we asked those ladies to photograph their food storage, their fridge and freezer, as well as their typical everyday meal. And the information that we got back was really mind-blowing, even for us. when 16 out of 20 Persian ladies is telling us that they have a big bag of rice in their pantry by the brand mark Tilda, so specific, then we must ask ourselves why we're still trying to sell them those little portion bags of Uncle Ben's, right? And so we even did Coop, and we got to do a pilot in one of their stores. And if it was successful, then we would take it to their other stores as well. And what did we do? We made a whole new selection of food groceries under the name Food of the World.
Yeah, Världens mat. Yeah.
And we adapted ads, and we were celebrating or
Actually,
highlighting.
We synchronized the campaign with the next consumption
Yes.
top among the foreigner groups, which was Ramadan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were highlighting some feasts and other traditions, and this is how it looked like. We are celebrating all holidays. Now we are celebrating Ramadan, and we were telling why we unfortunately missed this before and how we can all be inspired of it. And we had a baklava baker in one of their store.
Yeah, for a whole month.
And we were telling when the sun goes down, because when one fasts, you're doing it from sunrise to sunset, and it's not until this time that you can actually drink and eat. So we had those signs replaced every day, as it differs 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, it differs 3 to 4 minutes every day.
Every day. And these were the ads in the Galleria. And we really wanted to put this target group on a pedestal because they hadn't been asked before. They didn't feel as customers in this store, and they didn't have a relationship at all to Coop. And we were sending out to the concerned areas when the sun goes down. And this was applied to all of our bigger feasts and holidays. Now we're celebrating it out, Nowruz, Yom Kippur, Easter, whatever stood by the door. And we were contacted by KF, since they knew that the immigrants were not familiar with the Coop membership and the Midmera card. So we worked a lot with translations and getting the information out about their offer and their work. And we got a lot of good PR on our work. And till today, they're still working with Food of the World, and they are still marketing towards immigrants.
Coop is actually not gaining any money, but they are gaining money on Världens mat.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah. That was a few years ago. We're not working with Coop anymore. We're working with ICA. And they pay much better. We've done lots of work with ICA, but we can't show you so much about it, anything about it right now. But you will find it in a store near you in a few weeks. Okay, so let's summarize a little bit. If I choose to do something, if I choose to reach out to the foreigner groups in my company, how should I do it? I think the lowest level of activity is to have a look at my media cake. How much money do I put on media to reach out to my customers? And begin by taking a small portion of them and buy media among the foreigner groups and see what happens. Do it as a pilot. Because today we have huge homepages among some foreigner groups, radio channels. If we look at the Persian groups, I think we have around 22 radio channels only in Stockholm who's sending in Farsi. 18 in Göteborg, 15 in Malmö. And this is some of the media we're working with. We buy, of course, banners. This is a Persian one. This is Al-Compass. To be more concrete, Al-Compass is a paper, is a homepage, is a radio, and they have today around 130 unique visitors every week. 130 unique visitors every week among the Arab groups in Sweden. And if you click on their Facebook icon, Alkompis, remember that. If you click on their Facebook icon, they have 650 followers on their social media. I mean, it's more than Svenska Dagbladet and Dagens Nyheter together. And when we work with them, it gives results, of course. And we have several channels among all the groups. From Iran, from Turkey, from Somalia, from whatever. So today you have several good opportunities to reach out to different groups.
600,000.
Yeah, what did I say?
600.
Yeah, it is. Of course, a couple of 100,000 of those are checking up this Facebook page from other countries. But still we have at least 450,000 people in Sweden, Arab-speaking people in Sweden who visit this page continuously. And the next step is, of course, to have a look at your communication. Do I have to do anything? Do I have to make some changes in our product and our services? And how should I communicate it? But also, I mean, those media companies who today buy the ads for different customers, they're not aware about Alkompis and others. But beside that, all the PR companies are not aware about those papers. I mean, so they never get any press releases from your companies. But when we send them a press release and tell them that, okay, we have a campaign where the police in Sweden are trying to increase the people, to increase, vad säger man? Bla.
Deltagande.
Utöka, vad säger man? Utöka...
Deltagandet.
Nej.
In English, right?
Nej.
Participation.
Nej. Jo, ansökningarna till Polishögskolan. Så är det. To the police academy.
Right.
Yeah. So when we tell them about that, they're right about it. They make interviews, they make films sometimes. This is some of the work we do for Swedbank, BRO, Bröstcancerföreningen i Sverige. Alkompis made a film that was, I think within 2-3 days, they had about 15,000 to 20,000 views on YouTube. So this is new target groups with a huge potential, substantial volumes linked to new consumption patterns that we are actually not aware about, and presence among the target group's own channels. There's huge opportunities to reach out to different kind of groups in new channels. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.